I'm Euge Valovirta, and this one is chugging with my favorite amps, which are my amps here. Many of you have asked that why I have certain amps and you know how they differ and so on, and how I kind of decide what I will use in any given production, or why I bought this amp and that amp and not this amp and that amp. So before I play, little backstory. This is the bad boy. Marshall JC Mayhem 2203 was my first tube amp I ever bought back in the early 90s. Not the bad boy, but bad boy came very shortly after, and as did the little brother, which is another 2203. That's from 85 with EL34s. These are 6550s. Bad boy originally had EL34s, but at some point I just decided to try out it with 6550s, and it worked great. That amp and Buzz SD1. Buzz SD1 was my first overdrive I ever bought in the early 90s. So that's my reference point. That's my home. SD1 800. Everything else is always compared to that. You know, to me. So now the signal chain is pedal board. I have a couple of different boosts in front of the amp. There will be pictures what I'll use. So I'll chug with all of these amp. Then I'll discuss a little bit about the differences and whatnots and whys. Then do a little playing also, so you remember, you know, well, you know. The cabinet is a Mesa Boogie oversized with V30s. V30s have always been my favorite speakers. One of them, I love greenbacks too, and many others. But V30s, it just always works. And the Boogie cabinet that's from '94, so it's a fairly old one. That's my Gudesen 57 and Royer 121. The 121 is slightly blended in, and those both mics goes to Warm Audio's W273, Neve 1073 preamp. On the 57 I have the low cut at 50, on the Royer I have the low cut at 80 Hz, just to get rid of that really deep, because the amps are pretty loud. They all go to the KHE. When I'm switching them, I'm switching them with my G-Lab switcher, and also they'll go through via Fryet just to tame them down a tiny bit. Let me jog some drop D, because this kind of music or riffs I always do when I'm just kind of trying amp for the first time to see, you know, what it does, how it feels. And I'm always using overdrive in front of amps. Well, not always, basically always. So yeah, this guitar is one of my signature ESP Japan custom shops with EMG 81 and 85 pickups. The pickups, these were the first aftermarket pickups I bought in the early 90s. And you know, if it ain't broken. Cool, so bad boy, drop D, you know, with the flat fifth. Riffing, alright, let me chug away. I will put a picture of the overdrive that's in front of each amp, and then I will just show you what I'm using, or maybe I'll just quickly say that. So first the bad boy. Brother 800 with EL34s. the Plexi. Plexi is I have set it up. I wasn't gonna do this, but I'll do it because it's on. It's in the loop too. So Plexi I pretty much use without anything. So I have dialed it. This is kind of my, you know, classic rock tone. There's a lot less low end. I could turn more low end, but this is kind of how I use Plexi for this kind of really mid-focused, tight tones that cleans nicely. It's very dynamic amp. I love that. Okay, then let's go to the SLO, which is to me just like a hard-rodded Plexi. On 50. Rectifier. Bad boy. Oh, it's just awesome. So, Bad Boy is it's just, everything is just right. That with SD1, there's top, there's clarity, there's mids, there's lower mids, there's lows, everything to me in a, well, there's no such thing as perfect anything, but this is as close, I think, as it gets. It's just like, yeah, you can have this as a plugin too. There's a link to Boogie, my affiliate link. You know, they did an amazing job capturing the amp and the actual my overdrive SD1 too. So go check that out. There's 2-week trial, and if you use my link or my code Euge 230 volts, you get a discount, and I'll get a small commission, which is much appreciated. So okay, let's compare. What are the differences between these two amps? So I'm gonna play with the Bad Boy first and then with the Little Brother. And obviously I could dial this, but this is just kind of how I usually have them for this kind of, you know, chugging thing. So bad boy first. The bad boy has that kong, 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 kong. This one has a bit more lows, or at least it sounds like there's a bit more, because EL34s, the power amp distorts earlier. These are loud, so there's power amp, you know, juice involved. So it stays cleaner and kind of like thing, where this is a bit fuller, a bit saggier, because I guess the EL34s and what's nuts very close, but a different enough to, you know, sometimes I use, or many times I've used Bad Boy on the left, Little Brother on the right. Like my latest solo album, HARDTONES. Most of the rhythm guitars are with these two amps, left, right. And then there's was Plexi in a center, sometimes it was 88, sometimes it was 5150. Yeah, so that's that. Okay, then, well, let me go to the Plexi once more, because after that I'm gonna play with the SLO. So let me dial a bit more gain and low end from the Plexi. So that's muddy. There's the Jose mod with master volume and extra preamp tube to provide more gain. And there's also a mod that when I increase the gain, the low end gets tighter. My friend and Amtech Eric did that, so it's fantastic. So with Plexi, there's no anything in front now, because it just gets tighter when you engage the Jose mod. So it's mid bark, and then the master is it's very loud, so there's power and juice. Then when we switch the SLO, check out the quack quack mid thing. Quack 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 quack. It's there, but there's more low ends, it's bigger sounding, because it's, well, to me it's just turbocharged Plexi with 606 tubes. Obviously I could turn even more mix. It goes really into Plexi territory. Or scoop them. I like them where they just open. It's very clear. It's like a turbocharged Plexi. You know, really well made, custom made in USA transformers, everything. It's great. Okay, then let's move to the 5150, which is heavily inspired by SLO. So. It sounds like it's louder, but I checked the levels. Like, if you look loudest wise, they're the same, but this just has that mid that kind of just pokes through. If I add mids, it does the same, but the mids are a little bit different frequency on the 5150. They're really similar. SLO is just a little bit clearer to me. But again, I love 5150. It's actually 5150 was probably one of the earliest amps I bought. 'Cause at one time in the 90s, I had two 800 and two 5150s, and I just using them whatever felt the best. For whatever reason, the 5150 is kind of a bit more metal to me, especially because you can really scoop the mids. And SLO, that's that there's more plexi to my ear and to my feel than on the 5150. So SLO, both really close, kind of similar. I mean, they look even almost identical. I think 5150 is kind of like a copy. So 5150 a bit more kind of metal, like, I don't know, similar but a little bit different take. Then another amp which is heavily inspired by the SLO, dual rectifier. So my go-to channel is the channel 3 on the modern mode. Bold setting, solid state rectifier. The other channels are great too, but this is metal chugging, so let's stick on the channel 3. So if I change from SLO, then to 5150, then to the Lord Vader, which is the dual. It's a 3-channel rector from early 2000s. Different. Recto is just like this bulldozer, it's just American 606, I guess you could say classic or almost vintage now, because this is the youngest of these, and even this is over 20 years old. Well, I mean, this is new SLO, but the design is from the late 80s. They haven't really changed anything except added the depth knob, which was extra mod by request back in the day. Okay, let me play once more. I'm not gonna do the Plexi because that's not what I usually use for chugging, or almost never. It's more vintagey playing and clean stuff and semi-clean stuff, even though it has the Jose mod. So you can do high gain with that too. So let's start from the 5150, then go to the Lord Vader, then to the SLO, then to the little brother, and let's close this with the sound in my head. Like, generally it always works. All right, 5150. man, I can say I love that. It's just so mean. That amp is noisy. I'm having a Zool noise gate, just a little bit, but it's part of the charm. It's really noisy and it's hot as F. Conclusion. Like you heard, different amps, they sound a little bit different, but it still sounds like me and they are all in the same ballpark. So what makes the biggest difference in guitar sound? That's the speaker. So I just used V30. If I would have used, let's say, greenback with the SLO, with the Plexi, V30 with this one, something else with this one, they would have sounded drastically different. So that is always a good thing to keep in mind, because you know, SLO, Mike Soldano did the design, the cascading preamp stages in the 80s. These all are just different versions of that. And, you know, Plexi is the original high gain amp, even if it's not, but that's mostly the woof and distortion comes when driving the power amps, even when I have a master, but that is just tame it down a little bit, because cranked Plexi, no master volume or master volume wide open, I think it's probably the second loudest man-made thing. The loudest is probably jet airplane. So, you know. And then 800, you know, it's a classic. Evolution of Plexi, more lows, less mids, more top, a little bit more gain. Well, they are, you know, tube amp is a tube amp. The speaker makes the most difference. But because these are all like in the ballpark what I think is a great sound. And to me, the sound I'm most used to, the speaker I've mostly used is a V30. I have cabs with other speakers too, but that's V30 is my go-to. And then I'll get a little bit different colors, you know, when I'm painting the picture, when I'm producing in the mix, or when I choose what amps I use for this part or that song, or, you know, left guitar with this, right guitar with this. They're kind of all in the same ballpark, because in this case today it was the same speaker, the same mics, into same mic pre, but still, you know, this is the that's bulldozer. 5150 is kind of somewhere in there. 800 is 800, and Plexi is Plexi. And yeah, I used boost, like, you know, you saw from the pictures. That's just what I do. So thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments what is your favorite amp, what was your favorite tone for these. And remember, something that sounds like, yeah, that was the best like solo now, but it could be like, oh, it's too much this or too much that in the mix. So that's completely quite a different story. I forgot completely 80 AMP1. Sorry. If you watch this far. So 800. MP1 is great, especially with the Master Effects EQFH Pro. Well, he was a bit quieter. And you know, some of you probably will write that, yeah, I would have liked to hear those amps without overdrives in front so I could hear them how they really sound. Well, you know what? You can't always get what you want. Alright, thanks for watching. Until next time, take care. Bye.